Hello students, welcome to our online English class for 8th standard ICSE. In our last class, we have completed Act 1 Scene 1 of Merchant of Venice. Now today, we are going to learn the first short story in our Treasure Trove. Treasure Trove book is divided into two parts. First one is poetry, second one is short stories. So we are going to learn the first short story. If you have your books, please turn to page 41 in Treasure Trove. Our lesson heading is Chief Seattle's speech. Lesson 1, the lesson actually starts from page 42 and the heading of our lesson is Chief Seattle's speech. Now let us see what the lesson tells us about. Now this lesson is actually the speech of a person called Chief Seattle. This is later written in letter form, but this is actually the speech of a person. And this person, named Chief Seattle, was a Native American chief, and he is from the tribe called Squamish tribe. Now he is a prominent figure among his tribal people. Now these are Native Americans. You must have learnt about few of the tribes of Native American people. Okay, one among them is called as Red Indians, isn't it? You must have heard that name. So here these people, this particular tribe is called as Squamish tribe. Now this person, Chief Seattle, is the chief among this Squamish tribe. Now this lesson is his speech. He is actually speaking these words to one of the white man, one of the American white man, and he is talking to this man with a gentle irony. And he is speaking in favor of ecological responsibility and respect of Native Americans' beliefs, their beliefs, traditions, and land rights. So Chief Seattle is speaking to this white man about the Native Americans' beliefs, traditions, and land rights. Okay, and he is trying to be accommodative or be reconcile the terms between white people and the Native Americans. Now this speech is translated or written as a letter, but here let us see how powerful his speech is. This lesson or this speech of this Chief Seattle is considered to be a very powerful bittersweet plea. Let us see why it is said as bittersweet as we'll go through the lesson. Okay, it is a bittersweet plea for respect of Native American rights and environmental values. Now this Chief Seattle is honored by naming a city as Seattle in the state of Washington in USA. Now let us go into our lesson and see why this particular speech of Chief Seattle is a powerful speech. Let us start the lesson. If you have your books with you, please look into your books. As I read the lesson, I want you to look into the books so that you will understand everything. I am not going to type this lesson as I used to do the previous Merchant of Venice and the poem. Okay, because this is a lesson, it is very hard to type it and show it to you on the board. So I'll just read it from the books because you all have your books right now. So we can go faster with our lesson. Okay, let us read through the lesson. Yonder sky that has swept tears of compassion upon my people for centuries untold, and which to us appears changeless and eternal, may change. Today is fair, tomorrow it may be overcast with clouds. My words are like the stars that never change. Whatever Seattle says, the great chief at Washington can rely upon with as much certainty as he can upon the return of the sun or the seasons. Okay, Till here, let us see what this Chief Seattle is saying. Yonder sky means, yonder means it's an old English for far away. The skies that look far away has swept or has wept our tears of compassion. Okay? It with its compassion, it has wept tears, showing compassion towards us. And that has been happening from centuries together. And that kind of weather, which is very compassionate towards us, which is usually changeless and eternal, that kind of weather also might change. That kind of skies also might have a change in their appearance. Or today is fair means today is nice sunshine is there. Today the day seems to be very bright and fair. Tomorrow it might be overcast with clouds. Tomorrow the sky might be cloudy. Usually when we say the sunshine, when we compare sunshine and clouds, we compare sunshine to happy days and clouds to sad days. Okay, so what is this Chief Seattle saying? Today the day is fair, means there's nice sunshine and the day is good. Tomorrow it may be overcast with clouds. That means tomorrow might be a sad day. So even the weather might change. The condition of our life might change. My words are like the stars that never change. The weather might change, the sky, which is very compassionate towards us from centuries together, might change. But my words are constant, means my words are never changing, like the stars of the sky. We usually say that North Star, North Pole in the sky is constant star, isn't it? It doesn't change its position. So he's saying, he's comparing his words to that North Star which doesn't change at all. That means he is trying to promise this white man, the officer who came to meet him, he's saying, you can mark my words, you can rely on my promises or my words to you. Whatever Seattle says, the great chief at Washington can rely upon with as much certainty as he can upon the return of the sun or the seasons. So what is he saying? You can trust the words of this Chief Seattle, as much as you can trust on the return of sun and the seasons. See, the sun rises up in the east and sets in the west, and again the next day it rises up in the east, isn't it? Just like how a sun follows its cycle every day, and just like how seasons follow their timings every year, in the same manner, as genuine and as reliable those seasons and the sun are, so reliable are the words of the Chief Seattle. So you can rely upon my words. The white chief says that big chief at Washington sends us greetings of friendship and goodwill. Okay, the white chief here is the officer who actually came with a message to Chief Seattle. Then who is this big chief at Washington? This must be another officer who is actually a leader sitting in Washington who sent a word to Chief Seattle with some other white person. So that white person who brought the message he is calling as white chief. And he is calling the leader in Washington as a big chief. So what is his? So these people don't, the tribal people, they only know the head of some group or something to be a chief only. They don't call them as presidents or vice presidents. They don't know that terminology. The only term they use is chief. That is why he is addressing them as great chief and big chief. Okay, so here he is saying, the white chief tells me that the big chief at Washington, the leader who is in Washington, is sending us greetings in friendship and goodwill. is kind of him, for we know he has little need of our friendship in return. He says, this big chief at Washington is kind to call us or to give us greetings of goodwill and friendship, because I know that he has nothing to take in return from us. He is only giving us his friendship. That is very good on his part. His people are many. They are like the grass that covers vast prairies. So what is he saying? The Chief Seattle is comparing the white people to the vast grasslands. What are prairies? These are vast grasslands of America. So he's saying the white people, the number of the white people are vast. Okay, they are like the vast grasslands of America. But my people are few. They resemble the scattering trees of a storm-swept plain. See, look at the comparison, how nicely he's comparing. He's saying the Suquamish tribal people are just like trees which are scattered here and there after a storm has swept the place. Just imagine if a storm comes in your place, what happens? It will destroy all the, some trees which might be weak will be mostly destroyed, isn't it? Even if you have a heavy rain also, the next day after the rain you see many weak trees are fallen on the roads and everywhere. You see the trees being destroyed. Just imagine if there's a storm in a place. So he's saying, we people, the people of the Suquamish tribe are scattered, very few here and there, just like a plain which is seen after a storm where all the trees are swept away. But the white people are like the vast grasslands of America. So simply here he means to say, you people, white people are great in number. Comparing to you, we Suquamish tribe are very few. The great and I presume good white chief sends us word that he wishes to buy our land but is willing to allow us enough to live comfortably. So what else is he saying? The great here he is referring to the chief in Washington, the leader in Washington. He is saying the great chief, and I presume him to be a good chief. Okay, I hope he is a good one, because he is sending us a word saying that he wishes to buy our land. Okay, and in return for that land, he is telling that he is going to give us enough money with which we can live comfortably. That means he is willing to buy the land from us. And this indeed appears just, even generous, for the red man no longer has rights that he need respect, and the offer may be wise also, as we are no longer in need of an extensive country. What else is he saying? I hope and I believe that this offer is a very good offer between both our parties, between the white people and the Native Americans. Why? Because I hope that this word that the white chief is sending to us, saying that he would like to take our land and in return give us enough money with which we can live comfortably. Why? Because the red man no longer has the rights on his land. The days have changed, the times have changed, leadership has changed. And as the days came by, once upon a time, we were very powerful. And all this land that is occupied by my tribal people was ours. We had rights on our land. But now, comparing to those days, those rights of ours is lost. Those rights are lost. We have no longer as much rights as we used to have before. So there is no use of we keeping those lands without our rights. And it is maybe a good deal that white people wants to buy our land from us, give us some money in exchange to our land. And moreover, we have lost many of our people. We are now Only few, not like how we used to be many in our forefathers' times. Okay, since we are few people and we have a vast land, okay, it is a good deal. It should be a good deal. We don't need so much of land now because we are only less people. If we have less land, that is enough. So, whatever land might be extra for us, we will be willing to sell it to you. So, this should be a good deal between the white people and the Native Americans. Let us go to the second paragraph. There was a time when our people covered the land as the waves of a wind-ruffled sea cover its shell-paved floor. But that time long since passed away, with the greatness of tribes that are now but a mournful memory. So what else is he saying? Once upon a time, how were our people? Our people, the people of Suquamish tribe or the Native Americans, were many. What is he comparing their number to? He's saying our people are so many, like the seashore, which is covered with the shells of the sea, just as the wind which brings those shells and waves them on the seashore. Okay, our people are so many. There are some shores whose shores are filled with the seashells. Maybe if you search in internet, you can find. You can see the thickness of the shells on the seashore. So he's saying he's comparing those shells to his people. My people were many like that, like the seashore which is paved with these shells. But now our numbers have become very few. The tribe has become very few. And when I think of the glorious past of our people, those memories are like sad memories now. We cannot but mourn, means cry over our glorious past. Our past, glorious past is just a memory now. We don't have any more of that glory now. I will not dwell on nor mourn over our untimely decay. Untimely decay means the death of a young man before their time. Our men died as young men only. They didn't live to be old people. They didn't wait till their time of death came. Their death was untimely. It came before their time. Nor reproach my pale-faced brothers with hastening it, as we too may have been somewhat to blame. So I'm not going to blame the pale-faced brothers. Means what? Pale-faced means white face, isn't it? So who are white-faced people here? The white Americans. So he's calling these white Americans as pale-faced. He's somewhat ironic here when he's saying pale-faced brothers. Okay, because they are calling these Native Americans as red Indians, isn't it? So he is calling them as pale-faced brothers. Okay, so here he is saying, I'm not going to blame, I'm not going to reproach only my pale-faced brothers with hastening it. Means it here refers to the death of his young men, the young men of Suquamish tribe. He is saying, I'm not going to blame these white people who have hastened, means who have brought the death to my tribal people before their time could come. They hastened, they have made the death to come beforehand for my young people. But I am not going to blame only them, because I feel that even my own people should be somewhat blamed for that. I need not blame only the white people. Maybe we also have to take some of its blame. Let's go to the third para on page 42. Youth is impulsive. When our young men grow angry at some real or imaginary wrong and disfigure their faces with black paint, it denotes that their hearts are black and that they are often cruel and relentless, and our old men and old women are unable to restrain them. What else is he saying? Youth is impulsive means the blood of young people is very emotional. They become emotional very fast. Let it be happiness, out of happiness, or out of sadness, or out of anger. But the young people are very quick to show out their emotions. Youth is impulsive, means young people are very quick in showing their emotions. When a young man grow angry, what is he saying? When our tribal people, Suquamish tribe or the Native Americans get angry, what do? They might be angry because something wrong has really happened to them, or it might be just they might be imagining that someone might do something wrong to them, or someone might harm them, even though that has not really happened, whether it is really happened or whether it is their imaginary thing, but they don't wait to think about it. They just become very impulsive, and when they become angry, what do they do? They become so angry, and to show that they are angry at their heart, what they do? They paint their faces black. So when my young men paint their faces black, it means that they are very angry in their heart, and they have some angry ideas in their mind. We don't know what they might be doing in their anger. And we old men and women, we are unable to stop them. We have no strength to stop our young men when they become angry. In their anger, they might go and harm someone else also. Harm the other people whom they feel they are their enemies. But we old people and old women at home, we don't have any strength to stop them. Thus it has ever been. Thus it was when the white man began to push our forefathers ever westward. So this has been the nature of our young men even from olden days. Okay, even during the time of our forefathers, what happened when white men came into our land and they tried to chase our forefathers away from our own land westward, and they wanted to chase our people westward, and white man wanted to occupy our place. So that is something wrong in the sight of my people. It is our own land, whereas white people are trying to come and forcefully occupy our land. So our young men became angry. Then they painted their faces dark, and they went and harmed the white men because they knew that the white men are their enemies. So I hope that kind of, but let us hope that the hostilities between us may never return. But now I hope that kind of angry moments will never return between us and you white people now. Because the leader, your white leader, who is sitting in Washington, has sent a good proposition to us. What did he propose? He said, instead of occupying our lands forcefully, like how the white people during our forefathers have done, you are saying that you are going to buy the land from us. You are going to give money in exchange of taking our land from us. So, I hope you will be firm, or you will stand to your word of paying money to us instead of forcefully occupying the land like how your forefathers have done. We would have everything to lose and nothing to gain. If only that kind of angry moments should return. If only that kind of enmity should return, where you will not keep up your word of paying money and simply occupy our land forcefully. Then, if there should be a war, naturally, when someone comes and try to occupy your own land, what do? You try to fight back, isn't it? The same thing might happen if white people are trying to come and occupy the land of the Native Americans. These tribal people might turn back and fight. Why will they lose their land easily? So when these kinds of enmity comes and when people are fighting, naturally it leads to war. And if there should be some kind of war between us, in that war, if we have to lose people, it is we, the tribal people, who has so much to lose. We will gain nothing from the war. Whereas you people, you white people might gain. But if we lose our young men, we are going to lose much. You may not lose anything. Revenge by young men is considered gain, even at the cost of their own lives. Our young men, when they go to war, just to take revenge on their enemies, or just to fight back for their rights, when they go to war and when they take part in those wars or fights, they may lose their lives. But these young men don't consider it as a loss. They think that even if they lose their lives in the war, it is a gain to them. They are dying for a cause, a worthy cause. But old men who stay at home in times of war and mothers who have sons to lose know better. These young men, even if they die, they don't care. They think that they have lost their life for a worthy cause. But then, we old men who depend on these young men and old women who are at home, who lose their sons, only they know the pain when they lose their young men at war. But these young men, out of their emotions, even if they lose their life at war, they don't feel that it is a loss. They think it is their gain only. Shall we go to the next para? Okay, let us go to the next para on page 43. Our good father in Washington, for I presume he is now our father as well as yours, since King George has moved his boundaries further north, our great and good father, I say, sends us word that if we do as he desires, he will protect us. So now here in this para we see who that leader in Washington is, who sent a word to this tribal people. Who is that? We read here, since King George. Okay. Now this man, King George, is the one who has moved further to north. Maybe he has his office somewhere in the north. So this Chief Seattle is calling King George as great and good father, saying I'm calling him or addressing him as great and good father because he gives a good proposal to us. What is he saying? That he wants to buy our land from us so that we will have enough money to live a good life. Okay, I presume him to be our father as well as your father. He's not saying he's a simple leader. He's saying he's a father. When can we call a person as our father? When he is taking care of our needs. We can call a leader as a father when he takes care of the needs of the people, isn't it? So, since this leader has offered to take care of their needs, Chief Seattle is calling him as a father. He's saying, since your leader King George wants to take care of you by providing land to you, and he wants to take care of our needs by providing money for us. So I call him as your father as well as our father. And I presume him to be good because he sends a word that he wants to protect us. He is not only offering money to us, but what else is he saying? If you try to agree to sell your land to us, what will I do? I will not only pay money to you, but I will protect from you. I will protect you. Protect from whom? His brave warriors will be to us a bristling wall of strength, and his wonderful ships of war will fill our harbors so that our ancient enemies far to the northward, the Haidas and the Simshans, will cease to frighten our women, children, and old men. So, who are their enemies now? Who are the enemies of the Suquamish tribe? The Haidas, the tribes of Haidas and Simshans. So, what did this leader, King George, say? He has promised that if they are willing to give the land, then what will he do? He'll not only pay them money, but he is going to protect them. He's going to send his armies, okay, and ships of war, and going to protect their harbors. Okay, the harbors of, what are harbors? The shores to which the ships come and go, isn't it? So he is going to protect the harbors of this Suquamish tribe and also going to fight with the enemies, the Hydras and the Simshans of the on behalf of the Suquamish tribe, and going to protect the women, children, and old men, the weak people of the Suquamish tribe from their enemies. Let us stop this session till here. In our next session, we will continue our lesson. Thank you.